order. Changes to the agenda. I wrote to you last night about County Administrator's request that we hold Airport Resolution B. And so at this point, we may not take that up today, and we'll have Jason speak to that when we get down there. We have public comment this morning. I think we have folks that would like to talk to us. Let me just preface it by saying that we have our normal rules, about 3 minutes time, and but I also want to say that there is nothing on our agenda regarding the Freeze Road Bridge, which I think some of the folks are here to speak about. But let's hear from those who would like to speak. I've got, I see Dave Weinstein there. Dave, would you like to speak?
Yep, I would love to speak. This is David Weinstein. I'm at 51 Freeze Road, and I'm a resident of Varna. I and other community members have been working with the town of Dryden to help craft a plan for the Freeze Road Bridge that would simultaneously preserve the historic 1886 structure and also serves the desires and needs of the community and the traveling public. Over 200 plus community members have signed petitions supporting a one-lane bridge solution and the preservation of the historic bridge. We have had countless meetings on this subject with the community, the town, the Department of Transportation, and the State Historic Preservation Office. And those meetings led to a compromise agreement to replace the bridge with a new one-lane truss bridge that would be reminiscent of the current bridge. And this agreement would preserve the Groton Bridge Company's historic bridge by selling it to a nominal fee to Groton to put into a publicly accessible display of the bridge that would provide the community an ability to honor, inspect, and learn from the great work that was done on putting this bridge together. And as you know, the Groton Bridge Company was one of the premier bridge building companies at the time that this bridge was built. We in the community are very grateful to the Dryden Town board members that have listened to our concerns and were willing to shift from their original ideas to this new solution. With this plan, the community will get a bridge that evokes the character that we've lived with for so long, continues to help slow traffic on a road that would otherwise become more dangerous, and while at the same time, well accommodates the traveling public for the foreseeable future. And further, the community is thankful that the wonderful history embedded in the bridge will not be lost from our area. So in order to accomplish all of these features, it's imperative that the county contribute its share to the cost of the project, as has been promised through all previous stages of this discussion. By contributing this share, the county will ensure that the desires of the community are met and served well. And finally, let me make it clear, the community originally wanted the bridge to be repaired in place, but we were willing to compromise to find a solution that generally works for more than just us. To withhold funds because the county didn't get exactly what some people in the county wanted really would be an unconscionable act to take. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. And you were just at 3 minutes. We appreciate that. And thank you for those comments. Let's see who we have next. I see Rick Young. Rick, did you want to comment?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just a couple things I wanted to mention is obviously this has been a long road with all the back and forth with the 1, the 2 lane. There was a
excuse me, Rick. I just want to make sure everybody knows that Rick is the highway superintendent, town of Dryden.
And I went to a lot of these meetings, and obviously the concerns of the community of Varna, they wanted a 1-lane bridge. Others wanted 2. It didn't matter to me as long as we could get fire apparatus and snow plows across it. So they went and made the agreement to go with a 1-lane bridge with some other stipulations. And the only difficult part we had was you had 2 county administrators on the one wanted a 2-lane bridge and the other wanted a 1-lane bridge. So, I mean, we're to the point where I don't think it was ever brought to our attention that if you went with the 1-lane that you wouldn't be paid. So that's all I'm saying is there was never anything put down that if you went with the 1-lane bridge, you're not going to get paid for it, because I don't remember it. And I know, Mike, you were in support of a 2-lane bridge, and Martha was in support of a 1-lane bridge. So it was kind of a, this is where we ended up. And now we're being told we're not going to be paid for it. So that's just my view. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, Rick. Town Councilman Jim Scally is here. Jim?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Thank you, Mike, for allowing me to speak. I've been asked to represent the town of Dryden regarding the Freeze Road Bridge project, given that Dan Lamb could not make the meeting today due to other requirements of his needing to be at Cornell. I want to this is a project that's been administered by the town, working with the DOT and the federal highway folks. And as well known, the bridge is eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Structures. As such, the bridge required a review by the SHPO, by State Historical Preservation Organization, under state law, and also by the federal highway regarding historic structures. In these circumstances, I'll quote from the Federal Register of October 13th, 2015. And that's here where I have quote, federal highway encourages the use of flexibility and a context-sensitive approach to consider a full range of project and user needs and the impacts to the community and natural and human environment. State agencies and local agencies may consider using design exceptions to achieve a design that balances project and user needs, performance, cost, environmental implications, and community values. Furthermore, for most situations, there is sufficient flexibility within the range of acceptable values to achieve a balanced design. However, when this is not possible, state agencies and local agencies may consider designs that deviate from the design standards when warranted based on project's impact on the environment, natural and built, historical and recreational facilities, and other factors. By administering the bridge project, the town has saved the county $2.4 million in county funds, as indicated in resolution 7488 of 2017, wherein the county agreed to pay 100% of the 5% local share. SHPO, the State Historical Preservation Organization, has determined that the original bridge must remain intact and move to another location so as to preserve its historic design. Now that the village of Groton has expressed a desire to take ownership of the bridge as part of a historic project honoring Groton Iron Works firm that designed and built the bridge, this compromise reached with the local community, the town, the DOT, and federal highway would appear to be a win-win all around. A bridge that meets all load and safety requirements, including pedestrian safety, It would be unfortunate if the county reneged on its agreement to pay its local share. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Is there anyone else here on public comment?
Lori Snyder's just,
I'm sorry.
Lori Snyder had,
Oh, Lori Snyder? Yes, I think she's here.
she just came.
Morning, Lori. We're in public comment for 3 minutes and we'll be glad to hear from you. Lori Snyder is a Varna resident. Oh, you need to unmute if you would, please.
Okay. All right. Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. I had computer issues, but that's.
No, you're right on time. Go right ahead.
Okay. I live right next to the bridge. I think my house might be the closest to the bridge. And I'm just very saddened that there's some pushback now from the county legislature after we've been working on this since June 2015. I have in my hand here, June 15th, 2015, where we had a resolution number 102 at the Dryden Town Board, and it was approved by Sloan, Solomon, Sumner, Leifer, and Levine. And it says that we are requesting a single leg lane bridge, and we've been working on this for 6 years. Number of us have been on a committee that selected the engineers. We've worked with a citizens committee for all this time. It's been published in newspapers that this was going to happen that we reached a compromise and that we were going to have a one-lane bridge, a modern one-lane bridge, and the Groton Steelworks Bridge was going to be removed to Groton. And I'm just appalled that there's some pushback now.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Martha Robertson is here as a legislator. She's has her hands up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mike. And I would note that it wasn't on the agenda last month at the F&I committee meeting, but some important comments were made as expressed in the minutes that you have in your packet. So to Rick Young's comment about one county legislator or another, number one, it is my district, but my direct constituents, although all county residents really are all of our constituents. But I really don't want this to be personal in any way. This is about intermunicipal cooperation. It's about trust. It's about promises that were made, and there are other towns that either have Bridge New York proposals in or might be already be getting approved for such funding, and that's great, and that's the kind of cooperation that really brings new resources into our community without the local taxpayers having to pay the full $2.8 million cost for a bridge. I would submit that if safety is a concern, I wonder how the Federal Highway Administration and the state DOT are signing off on this design if it's not safe. So I don't know how safety could be a concern locally. So I really want to say the community has really researched this, worked hard on it, and it just reflects a really key part of the community character. And everybody struggled very hard to work to a compromise that didn't involve a lawsuit, that didn't involve, reneging, having to give up the grant because there couldn't be a solution. So I think, and in the end, it looks like, according to what Dan Lamb's got for the numbers, it looks like this bridge, even with everything that might get added by taking the old bridge to Groton, could very well come in under the original budgeted amount as compared to the South George Road Bridge, which you approved last month, which the county's share more than tripled. So, it went over budget by quite a bit. This one looks like it will come in under budget. So the total amount that the county under the original promise would pay would be, less than $150,000. They're still working on the final numbers, but this is really you know, we're getting an almost $3 million project for $150,000. I think it's certainly not worth the breach of trust and confidence in intermunicipal cooperation that would be involved if a promise is withdrawn. That's all. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Well, again, thank you all for coming in and speaking. We appreciate it. We'll take into consideration what you have. I guess we're going to move on with the agenda. Chair's report. I would just say that I did do what I said I would do last time. I carried the discussion about the Freeze Road Bridge forward to the town of Dryden. And I think that's why we have folks here at this point talking to us. But I wanted to let you know that I did do as you asked me to. Let's go to our county administrator's report. Jason Molino.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Jeff, I'm gonna have Jeff jump in. You had asked Mike for us to kind of give an update of the state budget and how we fared from a transportation, primarily roads perspective, roads and bridges perspective. I'm gonna have Jeff kind of go through. We did well. There was a good increase in CHIPS funding, both from the extreme weather perspective, but also from the base allocation. And that's usually a good thing because when the base allocation is increased, which is about $100 million this year, obviously not to us, statewide, that usually stays on a reoccurring basis. So that's a good thing. I believe there was some more extreme weather money. There was also some more paved New York money. But Jeff, you have more details. Do you want to kind of give just a quick rundown of some of the impact the state budget's going to have on some of our roads and bridges, opportunities?
Sure, I can do that. Thanks. Hi, everybody. And I'm sorry, I got to turn a little bit because I didn't print this sheet out that I sent to Jason. And my printer.
That's your good side, Jeff.
My printer's on the fritz. Normally anyway, yeah, it's really good news. Through the different like pieces of the CHIPS umbrella, there was, you know, $1 million increase in the overall CHIPS. There was 50 million increase in the winter recovery, and then another something similar in paved New York. I think it was another 80 or 70, something like that. Regardless of those big numbers, what it means for our allocation, which the runs came from our legislative representative on Friday, late Friday. Yeah, now I'm getting a call. So there we go. Sorry about that. Our CHIPS allocation, to give everybody the numbers specifically, is $2,466,047. The extreme winter recovery is $450,996. Paved New York is $689,933. And we're expecting, because the state held back on our CHIPS funding from last year, a reduction of 20%. They've come forward to say that they're going to reimburse us 15% of that 20%. So that allows, that allocation would be about 400,000, and that's an estimate. I don't have that exact number. Long story short, our anticipated revenue that I put in the budget, that I annually put in the budget, that we're expecting in CHIPS, is $2,476,509. The CHIPS allotment, if you add together those three numbers that I said earlier, is $4,007,419. So we're expecting, this is kind of the number I'm liking most and easier to remember because it's $1.5 million, but we're anticipating $1,530,910 more than what we are expecting to get from CHIPS. So that's kind of the number that we're working hard, diligently, hitting the pavement running, trying to get projects out, looking at doing extra things on the pieces that, we really have that money to responsibly spend and put to good use, but we're really balancing out, more construction and then more preservation, and we're going to expend it. The good news at the end of the day, and this is, a huge responsibility to spend this correctly, obviously, is that funding is going to roll over if we don't spend it. So it'll roll into next year. And that's just our plan. So I would expect that, time is not on our side, to say it that way. It's a good thing, but it's also creates a lot of, we want to make sure we do the right thing with the money. So it may take, it may roll, some of that money may roll into next year if we aren't able to spend it this year. But
And rollover in this sense is not our rollover. It's CHIPS money rolls. The state rolls CHIPS funding. So whatever you don't use in your annual allocation rolls and can accumulate in future years.
Right.
Not to be confused with our own rollover policy.
Exactly. Yeah. Not the same
not
at
at
all. We receive very shortly, and this is off of a CHIPS run. The data I received. So we'll receive very shortly an actual letter from a DOT, having all of this lined out. And that's when we'll know exactly how much rollover we're getting, and we'll know very good. And then hopefully I'm hoping to next month, and a lot of people on the call this morning would remember, anytime that the state passed the extreme winter recovery portion later in the year, I would do a resolution and I would bump up that amount. So I anticipate, when I know the exact number next month, doing a resolution similar to the extreme winter recovery resolution we've done over past years, where that we now know the exact number of chips we're going to be receiving, and that we would ask to raise our amount that we can spend in this year by the amount that the CHIPS has raised. And I, as you heard, expect it to be about $1.5 million.
Well, that's encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never seen an increase like this.
Well, so are we thinking about how we're going to use it? Are there particular projects that have been deferred, for example, or what is your department doing at this point about how we can best utilize this extra money?
Well, one thing that is going on right now, and this is a piece of what we're doing, and like I said, we're quickly reacting. And the other concern is that we'd like to get as much pavement down earlier in the season, because we anticipate the cost of blacktop going up, and we want to see as little of that eaten up by that increase as possible. So very specifically, everyone knows our Hanshaw Road, and the Hanshaw Road, if you ride over it, you'll see there's a lot of cracking out further. The next section before you get to 13 is in pretty rough shape. And then it extends all the way up to West Dryden Road. It's about 5.5 miles of road. We were planning on doing a chip seal, which is a 5-year fix, average 5 years. It needed something. We recognized it. But now we were able to get on the phone, call some vendors, and now we're doing what we feel is a 15 to 20-year fix. And we will be having a hot asphalt recycling company come in and the profile of the road is perfect. So this fix is very good, but it reconstitutes a couple 2 inches of the existing asphalt by heating it, injecting some oil, and then rolling it. And then we'll put a thin polymer overlay on top of that. We're not sure exactly on the thin polymer overlay aspect and what exactly product we're going to use. And we haven't even necessarily talked to vendors. We'll be doing that shortly, but we were able to secure, luckily, the hot asphalt recycling vendor to come in, only because they're doing a big section of 13 out of Dryden, starting at TC3, going to the Cortland County line or somewhere point out there. So they're already coming in. They're coming here first. It's actually coming on the 19th. And it was just, fortunate that we were able to get them at that time. And it's in complete response to this extra funding that's coming in. And it's a big positive move. We're very happy to have that extra funding versus doing the chip seal. That they're both preventative measures, but one is much more long-term than the other. That's one example, Mike. We're going to be doing that on all of our projects, looking at things a little differently as well. I expect to do, we will be probably expanding the map, and as time allows, we haven't gotten too much into the details on that.
Questions about this part? We'll come back to Jeff for his report a little bit later. But is there any questions on the new state money? Martha Robertson has a hand up.
Thank you, Mike. Jeff, on Henshaw, you're talking about the sort of new section that we did from the Cuba Heights out to Freeze Road, right? That's part of it?
It doesn't go to Freeze Road, but I am talking about, yeah, it does go to Freeze at that one end. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think about Sapsucker is about where it stopped, but right. Yeah, we're doing that section. We're actually in communication with Cuba Heights, who is going to partner with us and actually have them start and go through that whole Main Street section of Cuba Heights as well. We are going from there all the way to West Dryden Road across 13, 5.5 miles.
So I'm confused. That's not old. That's like what, 10 years, maybe 10 years old?
Nine. And if you look at it, you'll see where it's cracking. And if you don't do something soon, then it's going to become potholing and wear down. What was used on that, because it was a federal aid project, was called a super pave product. We had the state made us use that. And we typically, I'm not in favor of a super pave. Super pave has its place, but it's a very difficult to put down. And what you see happening there is a thin topping that they've almost pulverized because they have to get high compaction, and it really wears the pavement out. And you're talking about an inch on top. And if you look at it, if you ride over the road, you'll see it's cracking quite severely in some areas. The profile, the shape of the road is still really well. The base of the road is there. All that we've invested in that road using federal funding is all still there, but you have to work to preserve it. And I encourage you to actually, if you're in the area, we look at that stuff, and not everybody does, because it does look like a great road still. But if you actually look at the surface of the blacktop, you'll see that it's quite heavily cracked.
Well, that's disappointing. But let me bring up, I'm going to ask you about Turkey Hill Road. Speaking of projects that, maybe with a little bit of extra money, you can do a better job, or reconstruction instead of just paving. It's been a problem forever. It seems like almost as soon as there's a new layer on top, it starts to crack again. I don't know what it is about, maybe water flow down that hill or something, but it's really been in bad shape for a very long time. So I hope with a little bit of extra flexibility in the budget, you can take a deeper look at that one. So
Turkey Hill's on our map for sure to do this year. Yeah. And
okay.
like we've been doing on all of our roads, and it comes at cost, as everyone knows, is that we actually pave a shoulder instead of putting gravel on the shoulder. And that's helping. It helps us with stabilizing that edge, that white line edge. A lot of our roads prematurely start breaking up and cracking, as you can see across the county. By paving 1, 2, 3 foot shoulders, whatever we can get, it adds strength to the rest of our road through the winter and things. It saves us money and maintenance putting the gravel in there, and it's in turn makes pedestrians and other users of the shoulder, cyclists and things like that, are able to travel on a paved shoulder rather than a gravel broken shoulder. So it has a lot of positives, and I know that road has a very wide shoulder. I don't know that we'll pave the whole shoulder because it's very wide, but we're definitely going to be paving some of that shoulder and making it much more of a multi-use road rather than what it is now.
That sounds great. There's virtually none of it paved. It's like maybe a foot on the other side of the white line.
Yeah.
Gravel, but there's nothing paved. Thanks very much, Jeff. And thanks, Mike, for let me.
Right. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Let's go back to Jason. Jason, there are other things you'd like to talk to us about this morning?
I don't have anything specific to this other than yesterday, was it yesterday? What's today? Thursday? It was yesterday or Tuesday. I've had some questions from legislators, so I'll say at this meeting, you know, we had to, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, the CDC in New York State, Department of Health put a pause on using the J&J vaccine. There were, you know, 6 individuals, I think, out of 6.5 million that have been vaccinated, which is a very low number that have had some distinct side effects. So the CDC continues to review that. That was slotted to do a Thursday, today clinic with higher ed. We have contacted all of the providers that did do some J&J vaccinations to small populations. It hasn't been a lot in the community, but we did communicate to them, should they be advised of any side effects. We've received no communication that they have. And like I said, it's extremely rare. We anticipate this will probably lift in the near week, week or two in the future, so that J&J will be back in play, but we'll have to wait for that to happen. The questions come up about higher eds, and students particularly, and have they been vaccinated, or how do we get them vaccinated? The truth is pretty much over the past 2 weeks, a lot of the clinics that we've had have been, college age students or higher ed students. So whether it's Pfizer, Moderna, or whatnot, they are getting vaccinated through using the registry, and they're going to the mall site to get vaccinated. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it, and we'll continue to update the ledge. But I know we've had some questions on it, so I thought I'd just bring it up here. That's all I have, Mike.
Any questions for Jason? Jason, did you want to mention why you were hoping we would hold resolution?
Oh, sure.
The airport.
I can. Yeah, I had a brief conversation.
Resolution B.
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with Roxanne yesterday. Not having seen the resolution ahead of time, I have just some questions and want to understand more as to why we're requesting $2.2 million of CARES funding to be offsetting landing fees, concessions, and rents. And what I asked for, and what we'll talk about over the next few weeks, is getting some more detail and analysis as to what's led to that recommendation. I wasn't part of the conversations, but want to understand more. And that's about half of our allotment. And I had a preliminary conversation with Roxanne yesterday, and we're going to get together starting next week and start to look at some more details on that.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right, we'll move to the Department of Recycling and Materials Management. Who's here? Anybody?
Yeah, good morning, Mike. It's Leo. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why my screen name is Reduce Waste today. Feel free to call me Reduce for short if you'd like.
Mr. Waste.
We have an information only item, capital payment summary. Are there any questions on that from the committee? The solid waste center upgrades, the payments on that. Seeing none, thank you, Leo.
Thanks. Good seeing everyone.
And Carmen has a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead.
I just wanted to thank Leo. From Jeremy, we got the electronic update newsletter. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that and let people know, anybody that's watching, that you can now, and I don't know if this is new, but I hadn't seen it before, that you can order punch cards and various coupons online now. So that's great to see.
Yep. Thank you. I'll certainly let Jeremy and others know, and thanks.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, let's move next to airport, and Roxanne is here.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, Roxanne.
Morning.
We have, would you like to report to us anything, or do you want to just move to your resolution?
So the airport, I mean, we're working hard to, continue to move towards travel. Everything's changing rather quickly with, who's allowed to travel when, where, in New York State. The travel bans have, slowly been lifted. Mike has actually traveled for the first time in a long time. He went to a conference I spoke with him. He said it actually went very smoothly. You know, people are masked. People are following protocols, extremely well. There was no issues. He said he went into Charlotte, which was very busy, but still everybody's masks, everybody's, following protocols. So, hopefully we're moving forward and things will begin to open up and travel will begin to resume more at Ithaca in the future.
Any questions for Roxanne this morning? Then we have resolution A under airport audit of final payment suit coat. That's ID 10019. Would someone want to move that?
I'll move it, Mike.
Dave, seconded by Glenn. Discussion about this. This is final payment, the whole bags, I understand. Is that right, Roxanne?
Correct. It's just the 5% retainage that's, that we hold back on all projects until they're fully complete and we approve the work, just as a safety net, really.
Ready to vote? Dave?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Glenn?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's unanimous. Anything else for airport this morning? You guys are easy.
Yay. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks for coming.
Too.
Roxanne.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Now we're back to Jeff Smith. Sorry, Jeff, it's all on you today. Would you like to report to us other things or just want to go to your resolution?
I have the resolution here, I think, is what I'm looking at. Got
Let's get it on the table. This was award of bid, Central Chapel Road Bridge replacement over Boyce Creek in the town of Caroline. That's ID 10063. Dan's moved it. Is there a second? Seconded by Glenn. You want to talk about it?
Sure.
Jeff?
As you can see in the memorandum that there was a lot of participation from multiple contractors. The engineering estimate, if you look at item 17 in the box there on the schedule, the engineering estimate was 950,000. So that's around the number we were anticipating. All but one bid was below that of the 7 bidders. We were very happy to report Silverline is a company that we've worked with in the past. They're good at what they do, and they are the low bidder on this project at $824,515,000, 13% under the engineering estimate. Hope if there's any other questions, I think this is a good thing, and I'd like to see the 7 bidders is great, much better than 1 or 2 or sometimes just 1. So and also very happy with the number that we received there too.
Questions? I guess my question, Jeff, is what does this tell us? I guess I've been thinking that once the money started rolling here again and we'd see a lot of higher bids and maybe fewer bidders, but this is just the opposite of what I was thinking was going to happen. So any feedback on what you're hearing out there from the contractors?
In this case, I think timing is great. I think it was a really good time of year to put the bid out. And I think that shows with the number of bidders. As far as the engineering estimate, that's why they call it an estimate. So, sometimes in the past we've been over the estimate, sometimes under. There's always ingenuity piece that contractors may have, sources. It's really hard to say. But as far as high prices, I did talk to, there was a statewide meeting of other county public works and superintendents, and I have brought this news up to them, and they kind of laughed and said, that's because it's not a building project. And I guess across the state, building projects are going quite high. And a couple of them gave follow-up examples of their issues with those. So it's good to see that this industry seems to be, at least this indication seems to be holding steady and the prices are good. I know timing is a great thing and that always tries to work in our favor. We always try and get things bid in the spring or give contractors enough time. If you have to bid late in the year to have them do them in the following year. So that gets them more eager to participate. But I hope that answers your question. There's not a lot to really know for sure, but it's a good thing. And then
Just asking what you've been hearing.
Okay.
Anyone else on this? So we're ready to vote? Let's start with Dan.
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Dave,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We've awarded the bid. At least we recommended the awarding of the bid to the legislature. Item B is the capital payment summary report. That's on packet page 12. Any questions there? I did have one question, Jeff. The very first item says paid to data. I'm looking at Central Chapel Road. It says paid to date 120, including the current payment due. The current payment due is 205,000. So I wondered why that would be less.
Yeah, I think that should be 325,000 plus the change in the. I'd have to check into that, Mike.
All right. Other questions? Thank you. All right, let's go to the quarterly highway capital status report.
So what I have been doing at the request is go through the items quickly, and if there's any questions, you can certainly speak up. Like I say always, that this report is something we do quarterly, and as you look at it other times of the year or month, you can certainly get in touch with me if you have any questions or anything to do with this report. Trying to go through this quickly. Central Chapel Road is first page. We just awarded low bidder with the resolution. That's anticipated to be started as soon as we get the go ahead. Hopefully it passes the legislature, and the state will also give us the notice to proceed, and we will start that and expect it to be completed by August of this year. Etna Lane Bridge.
Dan's got a question.
Dan?
As you probably thought I would. So I was at the Caroline Town Board meeting last night. We again talked about this project, and everybody's good. You know, everyone understands the issues with it. But the Caroline Highway Superintendent did talk about, he just wanted to make sure about detours on other projects. Coddington Road detour, maybe was it a Central Chapel Road, sorry, a Caroline Depot Road detour. Are these sounding familiar to you?
Those have to do with the Bridge New York culvert projects.
Yes.
And I was going to talk to that later in this. That does come up later in this report, but the not specifically about the detour. So it's good to bring that up. And at this time, they will not be. We've heard from the state that these projects will not be going to construction this summer. So they won't affect, if everything goes accordingly, they won't be duplicating of competing detours. But had they gone this year, we would have had to figure those out. We didn't want them. Of the two that you mentioned, one is on, I believe, the valley section of that road, Brooksondale Road, Valley Road, and the other one is out on Coddington. And those two would have could have been had them gone at the same time. And that was, I believe, Bobby Spencer's concern, and we were working with him. He talks to us quite a bit about that stuff.
Is he aware yet that the project's not going to happen this year?
I believe so. I think we've talked to him about that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
We may not have been sure yet because we were still hoping have them go this year, but I believe it's conclusive now. We'll certainly let them know that. We pushed back at the state to say that we requested that they not just shelf it and then bring it up springtime next year, but they continue those projects right through and get them bid and awarded. And then maybe they could do a little bit this fall, or, hopefully a next year's project when the weather breaks, they can go right to work rather than have a process. So.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yep. Next one is Etna Lane. We are PS&E, plans, specs, and estimates have been submitted to DOT, and we're awaiting their approval. The right-of-way piece of that is complete, and we anticipate that going to bid very soon, and hopefully it has good numbers like Central Chapel Road. East Hill intersection safety improvement project. This is a crosswalk, and we've been signing, I believe Jason might recall that he signed some maps or an agreement with the state. I expect it's at the bottom, it's not in red, but it's pending obligation of construction funds. A relatively small project. This is a crosswalk in the vicinity of the Burger King. It continues that path. This will be a pedestrian actuated crossing, similar to what you've seen around the area. Station Road, we've been very busy with Bridge New York applications, getting those together. That's really taken priority with those deadlines fast approaching. But we have Station Road here. We're working with DEC to acquire permits to get the work done. There has been procurement of the actual cement box culverts and things like that. But once we get the DEC culvert, we'll be moving forward on this. Morel Road Bridge, same kind of thing. It's we really need to get some, push some priority. What's in place out there is serving the community with the dead end road and their ability to be able to bring some heavier traffic. One person was building a home. This facilitated that, but that's not the end all answer. And we're going to have to really get some focus on this and determine a permanent solution out there. Our Bostic Road work here, we're in the process again, getting into the season where we need to start making some decisions. We have a kind of a menu of solutions that we want to have. We want to improve the floor, really improve the whole workspace area, make it safer out in the equipment mechanic bays. And we're developing that plan to make that happen. Here's the county culvert projects, as I spoke to earlier. Most of the delay is what we heard from the state, pushing it to next year, is a new DEC permitting. New requirements are it's another 30 to 45 day pre-application period that they need, and then the application will be reviewed. So knowing that and the requirement for this application period coming from DEC, the state has decided to move the 6 culvert projects to next year.
Jeff, do we know the nature of those new requirements and why they're coming forward at this point?
I wish they had the actual name. I know it's a pre-permit application process that this is across the state, and it really kind of hitting everyone out of left field, to be honest, is that why do they need this? And we're not really understanding, not getting an answer other than the process. It's like we tell them we're going to need a permit, and we have to give them, I think it's a form to let them know that the permit application is coming, and nothing happens for 30 days.
It's really a notice provision.
I don't get it. I don't, it's new this year. It's been, again, I have a conference call monthly with my cohorts across the state, and this is one of our issues that we've talked about, and we really don't have a lot of answers on where DEC is coming from it. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation, their workflow, their ability to process permits. But for us, it just means additional delay on our projects. I'll keep everyone informed on that.
Thank you.
Closing a couple projects out, Ludlowville Road completed, and Ellis Hollow Phase 3. Next page. And a couple projects that we carry that really there's not much going on. The Carter Creek Road Bridge just hasn't been a priority. It was washed out in a flood multiple years ago, and there really hasn't been any interest in doing much out there. It's the very low volume gravel access road up into Connecticut Hill. There's another way to get in there from another direction. The Fall Creek Road is a future funding.
Stop you for just a second. Dave, are you hearing any feedback on Carter Creek?
No, not really. I don't think they really want to do anything out there right now. It doesn't sound like it to me anyway. I'm not hearing anything too much out of the town.
Thank you.
Fall Creek Road is a project on the tip that's future funding 2022. So we have everyone. It's not fully funded. It's the 332, I believe, is design and preliminary right away and things like that.
That's the one in McLean.
That's the one. No, it's right out of Freeville. As you travel, it's the very first one past the Cornell Fields there. It's
Okay.
that first corner. It's a triple box culvert now. And it's a rehabilitation, it's they're looking at rail improvements, surface, a lot of spalling on the concrete, things like that. Cortlandt Street over Owasco, it's going through the capital plan. Over last season, it was pushed out, so we kind of delayed that. But I'm happy to report that this is a candidate with our Bridge New York applications, and keep our fingers crossed that we receive funding. This would be a great Bridge New York project. Very complicated area, a lot of utilities in the area, both under the road between it's 3 large pipe arches. Which that span makes it considered a bridge. There's sewer trunk lines in the area, water lines, like I said, a lot of utilities, some very key commercial businesses that we want to support through the project. So it would be a great Bridge New York project, and we're doing our best to submit it and make it compete. We'll keep everyone posted if it gets funded. That is my report for the quarterly status. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Questions for Jeff on those things? Jeff, I sent out a copy of a newspaper article about in the village of Dryden, the Lewis Street Bridge, which is a county bridge. It's a double culvert, but it's just downstream of where the 2 branches of Egypt Creek come together, and it fills up heavily with sediment. And you did get that, I hope, a copy of that. Yep. And the mayor of Dryden, Mike Murphy, has been trying to figure out how to get that cleaned out. I know we've cleaned it out in the past. Are we in contact with the village about that at all?
We have been multiple times over the last several years. When we met, our bridge supervisor met out there with DEC. They were not in favor of us doing any work in the creek. And when I saw your article, it sounds as though they were able to secure some funding to do that, if I read that correctly. And that's great. And I'd hope that the village, Paul Sabin is the public works individual. If they need help, if it's any kind of in-kind work, part of the money that they're receiving, that they would reach out, and we'd certainly help them out with whatever we could.
I wasn't sure they'd actually received any money, but I know they were trying to do that. But I wanted to point out it is a county bridge that.
Yeah, the difficulty is, Mike, with so many the gravel bars, the natural course of the stream, things like that. DEC has limited us very much to be able to go in and remove them and straighten the creeks and things like that. It's very difficult. I know that in many cases, and our soil and water conservation department has been great with doing some stream improvements and helping that. Their resources are limited as well, but they do a good job. I don't know if that's something they've ever looked at as a possibility for a future project.
Oh, no. Thank you. Anything else, Jeff, you'd like us to know about?
No, I'm all set.
And let's move on. Transportation. Actually, I was going to ask Jeff, and I forgot. How are we doing with respect to our detours and things having to do with the Route 34 bridge project that the state is working on? Are we getting any feedback from people driving over those detours and things? Are they okay with those? You may not, but I
do. Yeah, we've had a lot of feedback from the residents of Ludlowville as far as the speed of vehicles going through the area. We've put in place our radar devices that flash the speed and determine, and we've taken some data. We've recorded that data, targeted some specific times during the day. Been working closely with the sheriff's department, passing that information on to them. It has not been of recent, probably the last 2 weeks, but initially there was a lot of back and forth discussions. Mike Sigler was involved, the town superintendent, the town highway superintendent, the Myers Road areas seeing similar. The large detour, the state says the actual detour is out and around following state roads, but anybody locally is aware of these two little loop roads that go around that bridge. So we're doing our best to mitigate it, to enforce the speed, to remind people that, people live in the area. Again, yes, there was a lot of discussion, emails, such in, different forms, but it has been quiet for the last couple of weeks, and we have been trying to address as best we can as far as getting people to slow down traveling through Ludlowville.
I know when the state replaced the bridge in downtown Freeville, locals were going around other than the state maintained detour, and they did put in some speed humps to slow people down. Have we thought about anything like that?
No, I haven't thought about that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're talking about on a town road, and I don't know that I would do that on a county road. I would want to talk to some, liability would be my concern on that.
Yeah, it was on a town road that had them.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Other than that, the ITCTC policy committee will meet on the 20th, so I'll probably have some updates on transportation after that meeting. Go to the minutes. March 18th. So I see a motion.
I'll move.
David and Glenn. Discussion on the minutes. Ready to vote? Well, let's go in the middle. Ann?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Glenn?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
And I'm yes. There is a budget adjustment and transfers out of weights and measures for information only. Any questions on that? Anything else before the meeting today? Well, then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Dan? Glenn? All in favor? Any opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you all.
See you later.